Bruce Lee as Chen Zhen. Bruce Lee was born on April 26, 1963 in Beijing, China. He was 31 years old when he played Chen Zhen in the film Legendary Martial Arts, 1994. Chen Zhen plays a student who is threatened by the pain of losing his master and the humiliation of tarnishing his national honor. Chen Zhen is calm, determined, and cold, like a man who has been wounded so deeply that he cannot express his emotions. This was not just a simple martial arts demonstration, but also a reminder of a turbulent period in Bruce Lee's life. In his private life, Bruce Lee first married Huang Qiuyan, a teammate on the Beijing martial arts team and his on-screen colleague, when they were both very young. They had 2 daughters, but the marriage quickly fell apart due to the increasing pressures of his career and emotional turmoil. Bruce Lee made a name for himself in the film industry, from Hong Kong to international cinema, while gradually neglecting his family life almost completely. His marriage in 1990 left him with a bitter sense of failure, as he was unable to maintain family happiness. In 1999, Bruce Lee married his wife, Nina Li Chi. Their relationship began passionately, but maturity only strengthened them. They had 2 daughters and appeared to be a stable family on the outside. But on the inside, they were plagued by conflicts between his regular work schedule and his deteriorating health. As Bruce Lee conquered Hollywood with Lethal Weapon 4 and then Hero, he seemed to feel indebted to being rarely home and shouldering the family responsibilities alone with Nina. When family life reached its most fragile point, Bruce Lee's body began to rebel. Due to injuries sustained during his martial arts training, as well as his decades of filmmaking experience, he was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. The condition caused chronic pain, noticeable physical changes, and emotional suppression, while rumors circulated on social media that he was dying. After this event, Bruce Lee's world was never the same. Movies, money, and happiness gradually lost their importance. By 2025, at the age of 62, Bruce Lee had retired from the spotlight, instead focusing on his core values and spiritual life. With an estimated net worth of around $250 million, he now lives in peace with his family, having paid the price for his legendary career. Chin Xiaoho as Ho Ting En. Chin Xiaoho was born on January 26, 1963 in Hong Kong. He was 31 years old when he played Ho Ting En, a complex villain shaped by circumstances and the brutality of his time, in the film Fist of Legend, 1994. Ho Ting En was not just a villain, but a man torn between honor, violence, and death. This role depicts the turbulent life of Chin Xiaoho. Chin's life was forged in steel from a young age. He began practicing martial arts and died of brutal injuries at the age of 10. When he rose to fame with 1985's Mr. Vampire, success came quickly, but he was under immense pressure to maintain his action movie image in a rather timid industry. In the years that followed, as Hong Kong cinema declined, leading roles disappeared, and Chin Xiaoho was reduced to supporting roles and stunt work. This decline was not only a professional setback, but also a quiet, emotionally charged tragedy for someone who had once been at the peak of his career. Chin Xiaoho's marriage also contributed to the stability of his family. His marriage to his first wife, Sharon Kwok Sawan, caused many serious problems within the family. However, the biggest tragedy occurred in 2015 when his eldest son died in an accident. The defeats crushed Chin's spirit, sending him into a deep depression, and he nearly disappeared from the public eye. During this time, chronic pain from his old martial arts injuries resurfaced, overwhelming both his physical and mental wounds. Chin later attempted a comeback, appearing in dark, somber works such as Rigor Mortis and Vampire Cleanup Department, where he emerged no longer as a hero, but as a man whose life's pain was clearly visible on his face. Each role gradually focused less on acting and more on the indescribable loss. Cinema became the only way to breathe after an insurmountable family trauma. By 2025, Chin Xiaoho was 62. Sometimes he still seemed to be present on screen. With an estimated net worth of around $5 million, he was not wealthy compared to his neighbors, but he demanded an extremely high price for every dollar he earned. After the death of his son and years of depression, Chin Xiaoho lived a quiet life, as did Ho Ting En. Ada Choi plays the role of Rose. Ada Choi was born on September 17, 1973 in Hong Kong. At the age of 21, she played Rose, a beautiful woman constantly torn between violence, loss, and decisions that are not truly her own, in the film Fist of Legend, 1994. Rose has no power, but her vulnerability makes the story less heartbreaking. Behind the spotlight, Ada's personal life quickly spirals into an unhealthy spiral of stress. Her mother suffers from a severe gambling addiction, leaving behind huge debts that Ada is forced to shoulder for the entire family. She used the money from the risky venture not for pleasure, but to pay off her debts day by day. The prolonged pressure drove her into depression, and she occasionally contemplated suicide. During this period, although she often appeared on screen in light, pleasant roles, Ada lived in a state of delusion, smiling on stage but collapsing upon returning home. Marriage should have been a safe haven, but instead it opened a new and difficult chapter. When Ada married Zhang Jin in 2008, she was already a celebrity and the family's top earner, having become the financial pillar in her early years. Financial pressures, public criticism, and family turmoil constantly strained their relationship. Meanwhile, Ada's journey to motherhood was filled with tears, injuries, pregnancy complications, and hospitalizations as she struggled with the fear of losing her child. After years of suffering, Ada's body finally began to heal. The prolonged stress had severely affected her mental and physical health, forcing her to take time off work several times. Although her later career soared to significant heights, including iconic roles in Dance of Passion, Ada says even this late success couldn't erase the years she lived in fear. Fear of debt, fear of a broken family, and fear of limitations, even after marriage. In 2025, 52-year-old Ada Choi prioritizes her family and makes limited television appearances instead of pursuing fame. With an estimated net worth of $15 million, she is no longer financially bound by her past. But the pain of the soul is not easy to heal. Rose in Fist of Legend silently watched the tragedy of others, while in Honest Legend, Ada Choi fully experienced her own tragedy. Chungyan Yuan as Captain Jie. Chungyan Yuan was born in Guangzhou, China in 1957. In the film, The Legend of Boxing, 1994. He was 37 years old when he played Captain Jie, a disciplined, cool-headed, but not heartless officer. Captain Jie represents order amidst chaos, and behind this role lies a life shaped by the dynamics of a martial arts lineage. Born into the prestigious Yuan clan, the son of Yuan Xiutin and younger brother of Yuan Wu Ping, Chungyan Yuan grew up with enormous expectations. His family life was complicated by a grueling work schedule and a constant obsession with the value of the Yuan name. Years of absence from filming often disrupted his family life, allowing him to quietly cultivate diversity in his private life. The personal stress gradually accumulated as his body began to take its toll. Decades of time as a stuntman and martial arts choreographer had left him with recurring injuries to his legs and spine. Every stage scene was a compromise, and physical pain gradually crept into his daily life. Despite this, he maintained his health and gradually moved on to work behind the camera, where the experience could help him regain his youth. Years of international work, from Asian projects to high-pressure Hollywood productions like Charlie's Angels, gave him professional expertise, but he failed to achieve the star power he once had. Family bereavement and declining health forced her to learn to relax and choose projects that were within her abilities to avoid further damage to her health and relationships. By 2025, Chungyan Yuan, 68, was still living and working selectively as a choreographer. With a budget of $3 million, she did not seek ostentation or luxury, putting herself first rather than preserving professional honor. Captain Jai showed discipline amidst the chaos. In real life, Chungyan Yuan also maintained her inner discipline. Billy Chow plays General Fujita. Billy Chow was born on the 24th of the month. Born in Canada in August 1958. At the age of 36, he played General Fujita, the brutal commander who embodied violence and a terrible ideology in the 1994 film Fist of Legend. On stage, Fujita was a Cold War machine. On stage, Billy Chow's body bore the scars of countless brutal blows. Before the film's release, he had a memorable martial arts career. Billy Chow was the WKA super welterweight world champion in the mid-1987, but the price of his dedication was an accumulation of injuries and constant pain in his legs, back and arms. Once he gets into the role, he fully embodies the iron discipline of a warrior and the constant fear that his body could break at any moment. His years spent acting in extreme action films and other genres coincided with the daily pain of training. His personal life was equally stressful. The fast-paced life of a martial arts actor required Billy Chow to spend extended periods away from his family, attending training sessions, accepting film offers, and traveling constantly. As his Hong Kong films required him to travel more and more, the uncertain income put financial pressure on him, and he felt he had to consider other options to provide for his family. He gradually withdrew from the spotlight and returned to high school. Opening Billy's gym wasn't a retreat, it was a redemption. There, he turned pain into knowledge, training a new generation of fighters while learning to relax and take care of his own health. Old aches and pains still haunt him every morning, but teaching and strength training helped him regain his balance. By 2025, Billy Chow will be 67 years old, still alive and working as a CEO and coach. With a net worth of around $3 million, he might not be considered rich by ostentatious standards, but he is rich in terms of his needs. General Fujita was shot while still wearing a steel prosthesis. In real life, Billy Chow chose to protect his family and his health with unwavering determination. Man Bu Lee, whose full name is Bu Man Bu Lee, was reportedly born around 1954 in Hong Kong. He was 40 when he played Bu, a character on the brink of serious conflict, seemingly portrayed through letters, yet deeply human. In the legendary Fist, 1994, Bu is neither a hero nor a villain, just a tiny human caught in a vortex of violence. These pictures illustrate Man Bu Lee's position in the Hong Kong entertainment industry. Her career has been almost entirely limited to supporting roles and cameos. She entered the industry during a time of intense competition, when few achieved stardom. Although she starred in the 1985 classic Police Story, and this success did not open up many wider opportunities for her. Instead, it became a kind of stereotypical role, always present but rarely associated with a specific name. The following years were marked by stubborn but frustrating experiences. Man Bu Lee continued to take on roles in action and gangster films, working hard but with uncertain income. Each new project revives old fears. Will this be his last? Competition with younger actors gradually pushed him aside, making him feel like time had left him behind and was changing despite his efforts. As Hong Kong cinema turned, faces like Man Bu Lee almost disappeared from the screen. His role in The Power of Legend is still remembered as one of his last milestones, a silent appeal to the audience. By 2025, Bruce Lee. Man Bu will be 71 years old, still alive but almost completely inactive in the entertainment industry. With a net worth of about $1 million, he lives a simple life, away from the spotlight. In the movie Legendary Martial Arts, Bu stood silently before history, and in real life, Bruce Lee Man Bu also stood silently before the terrible moment depicted in the movie. It's been 29 years since the 1994 film Fist of Legend, and the punchlines that once dominated the screen are now just memories. Some live quiet, peaceful lives, some carry wounds that never heal, and some have quietly left the spotlight. Which actresses have remained energetic after 29 years? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to keep up to date with interesting videos and discover other horror stories, both old and new, from classic martial arts films. Yasuaki Kurata as Fumio Funakoshi. Yasuaki Kurata was born on March 20th, 1946 in Ibaraki, Japan. At the age of 48, he starred in the film Fist of Legend, 1994, as Fumio Funakoshi, a calm, professional, and strict martial artist. This character doesn't need brute strength. His strength comes from discipline and perseverance, similar to the path Kurata himself has taken in his life. His entry into Hong Kong cinema was a significant psychological turning point. As a TV star in Japan, Kurata had to adapt to a new culture, learn Cantonese, and compete in a ruthless environment where age was no advantage. The pressure to maintain a youthful physique pushed his body to its limits. In the years following The Power of Legend, as he continued to take on action roles and Asian projects, his body began to rebel after decades of training in karate, judo, and aikido. Kurata's personal life is private, but the constraints of working remotely are real. A demanding filming schedule, the responsibility of training students, and managing a team of stuntmen leave him with virtually no time for himself. When he returns to the dojo, images of constant pain and stress always come to mind. Filmmaking, instead of being a choice, became a mirror reflecting the serene, distinctive beauty of the Greek beauty. To survive, Kurata decided to work secretly behind the scenes. Promoting, studying, and advising martial arts allowed him to maintain his strength without compromising his health. He occasionally returns to the stage with a deeper and more intense presence, as in his later projects, such as God of Wars. By 2025, Kurata Yasuaki will be 79 years old and will continue to be selectively active, maintaining dojos in Tokyo, Osaka, and Hong Kong. His estimated net worth is around... He didn't waste $4 million. Fumio Funakoshi once taught that strength comes from discipline, and in fact, karate is developed on this principle. Jackson Liu plays the role of Akutagawa Ryuichi. Jackson Liu was born on the 22nd. Born in Taiwan in March 1962, he was 32 years old when he played Ryuichi Akutagawa, a cold and disciplined Japanese officer, in the 1994 film Fist of Legend. Akutagawa was a man of few words, but every move he made carried the weight of determination. Similar pressures have weighed on Jackson throughout his career. Jackson entered the scene during one of the most stressful and saturated periods in the Hong Kong film industry. In the early to mid-1990s, established superstars dominated the film industry, while countless established actors struggled to find their place on the fringes of the industry. He works constantly, often taking on supporting or minor roles that require precision rather than prominence. The constant transition from one action movie to another provides him with a stable life, but also brings with it a long period of anxiety. The important roles often go to others. His presence was constantly changing. Recognition was rare. The spotlight only briefly illuminated him, then quickly pushed him away, leaving behind a hidden fear of oblivion. This professional pressure gradually crept into his personal life. The unpredictable shooting schedule, constant travel, and constant pressure to conform made it difficult to maintain long-term relationships. Even more damaging than the uncertainty was the mental burden of always having to be close to a goal, always on target, but never overstepping the mark. Jackson tried to overcome this by saying yes, taking on more projects, and appearing in films like Police Story 4 and several other commercial action films. But each role conveyed the same reality. Within the rigid star system, there were boundaries he couldn't cross. As the industry matured and a new generation of faces emerged, Jackson felt that change was impossible. Rather than fighting a hopeless battle with time, trends, and fierce competition, he chose a quieter path. He gradually moved away from the screen, finding his own rhythm not out of grief but out of self-control. It was not a sudden departure, but a quiet one. After years of increasing pressure, Akutagawa persevered with discipline and self-control. In real life, Jackson has learned to appreciate things through concessions and recognize when to let them go. In 2025, Jackson Liu will be 63 years old. He is still alive, but he rarely appears in public, having chosen stability over the arduous pursuit of fame. He lives comfortably on a lease worth about $2 million, no longer affected by the uncertainty of his working years. Ryoichi Akutagawa was once a cog in the rigid machinery of power and order. Jackson Liu, whose career was shaped more by perseverance than luck, quietly left that machinery and later found meaning in life. Paul Chun plays the role of Uncle Number. Paul Chun was born on the 17th. He was born in Shanghai, China, in May 1945. He was 49 years old when he played Uncle Kong in the film Legend, 1994. A quiet, considerate father who looked with a compassionate eye at the tragedy of the younger generation. This character doesn't need a single punch. His calmness alone adds weight to the story. The real-life story of Paul Chun and the story of the Second Fist were written in similarly difficult times. Paul Chun was born into a renowned artistic family and began acting in films at the age of 3. But being born into such a talented family was not a privilege, but rather something that came naturally. The war forced his family to flee to Hong Kong, causing loss and instability. Paul struggled with the difficult transition from childhood to adulthood as an adult. He was criticized for his achievements, constantly compared to his famous parents and siblings, and lived under years of pressure to prove himself worthy of his position. Paul Chun's personal life was also fraught with difficulties. His first marriage ended in complete heartbreak when his wife died in horrific circumstances, leaving him with an unfulfilled spiritual longing. During these years, he could still look at the camera and act, but inside he was a lost man. Later, more nuanced roles, such as C'est la vie, Mon chéri, c'est la vie, mon chéri, brought him not only success, but also a way to explore personal pain through his characters. His body also paid the price, having spent more than 7 decades in the profession. Age. A strict schedule and prolonged psychological pressure took their toll on his health, making his work more selective and slower. But it's precisely these life experiences that make his views on fathers, uncles, and older men so difficult to understand. By 2025, Paul Chun will be 80 years old, still alive, and still on the big screen as a symbol of serenity. His estimated net worth. He did not squander his $10 million profit, but invested it in his acting and rare perseverance. His character Uncle No in the film Legend of the Power was on the verge of historical fame. Meanwhile, in real life, Paul Chun devoted his entire life to art. Shinobu Nakayama Chongvaji Mitsuko Yamada. Shinobu Nakayama was born on January 18, 1973, in Koganai, Tokyo, Japan. She was 21 years old when she played Yamada Mitsuko, a Japanese woman torn between honor, violence, and the choices of her heart, in the film Fist of Legend, 1994. Mitsuko seemed calm, but her eyes reflected the fear of love amidst the chaos. Shinobu was also experiencing this emotional state, a broken chapter in her life. Behind the fragile facade was an imperfect marriage. Shinobu married in 2000, shortly after her acting career began to decline, before being ostracized from Japanese cinema. Pressure from her sister Miho Nakayama, as well as fewer job opportunities, quickly shattered her family life. The marriage took place quietly, hidden behind the confusion of a woman who had left the spotlight and lost her emotional support. The turmoil of her marriage ruined many difficult years for her. Shinobu abandoned her peaceful life, and after a short time, she stopped singing, devoting all her energy to action roles, her roles in the films Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, and later Gamera 3 brought her inner strength and professional recognition, but the prolonged stress forced her to choose a private life to protect her mental balance. By 2025, Shinobu Nakayama, 52, was still alive, but very inactive and prioritized her private life. With an estimated net worth of around $2 million, she may not be rich by ideal standards, but she is rich enough to choose peace. Mitsuko Yamada once stood silently through the storms of history. In real life, Shinobu has learned to stand strong in the face of her own storms.